Okay, so we're all set to go to put together the body of this cinch now. So we've got half of our mohair on either side of that center strand. We've got a lark's head knot spanning the tongue of our buckle, and so we're ready to go. So now what we're going to do is build these lark's head knots, 4 more on either side of this lark's head knot, and we're just going to go back and forth. Same thing as we did before. We're going to take our mohair, go over the hardware. This is going to be the center strand of our cinch. So we're going to build from the center out. So we're always going to build towards the center, whichever strand is on the outside, out in that direction. So for this one, I'm going to go over the hardware, and I'm going to pull my mohair over. And at the beginning, you're working with a lot of mohair, so it can get kind of a little tedious, but just hang in there because you're using a pretty good chunk of mohair every time you go back and forth. So I'm going to go over my hardware from the front to the back, come up in between my outermost strand. So in this case, I only have one. So in between that strand and the strand that I'm going over, okay? So I went over my buckle. Now I'm going to go over my mohair. Then I'm going to come under my buckle from the back to the front. And then I'm going to go under this piece of mohair that I'm holding. So I like to hold this. This is going to keep my tension even on all my strands while I build this cinch. And I constantly want to check and make sure I'm not pulling the natural stretch out of that mohair, but I'm keeping my tension even and my buckles centered. So I'm building a nice, straight, even cinch. So I'm going to come up here, and then I'm going to go down here. So I'm going to go over my hardware and pull all my mohair through. Okay. And then I'm going to come up in between. Right now I've only got that center strand. Come up in between my outermost strand and the strand I'm currently working on. And I'm going to go over that mohair. So from the front to the back of my buckle, over the hardware, over my mohair. Then I'm going to come from the back to the front of my buckle, under my hardware, pull all my mohair through. Okay, and then I'm going to hold my tension right here, and I'm going to pass my remaining mohair under that strand of that lark's head knot that we're building. Okay, so I'm going to kind of suck this down, making sure my tension's even. So now we have 3 strands built. So I'm just going to go back and forth, keeping my buckles even, and build lark's head knots back and forth. Okay? So over my hardware, over my mohair, under my hardware, under my mohair. And kind of hold that strand right here. Keep your buckle straight. Loosen that lark's head knot. Okay, over my hardware. Build it from the center out. Over my mohair. Under my hardware, then under my mohair. Secure down that lark's head knot, and move on to the other side. Over my hardware, from my center out, and you'll see how fast you start eating up all this mohair. Over my hardware, over my mohair, under my hardware, under my mohair. And it turns into muscle memory real quick. We're just going to keep centering that buckle, making sure our tension is nice and even on all those strands. Move on to the other side. Over my hardware. Holding my tension. Over my mohair. Under my hardware. Under my mohair. And you want to watch that your lark's head knots are crossing in the front, okay? Let's move on to the other side. Over mohair, over hardware, over mohair. Hold this for your tension. Under your hardware, under your mohair. Buckle straight. Tension even. I'm going to have to get a knot out here. Over my hardware. Keep my buckle straight. Over my mohair, under my hardware, under my mohair. Buckle straight, tension even. Move on to the other side. Over hardware from the center strand out. Over my mohair, under my hardware, under my mohair. And as you get towards the curvature of your hardware, you kind of smash those lark's head knots together. So you can see we've got 2 lark's head knots on either side of that center one in our tongue. This one we've got 3 over there. So we need 4 on either side. Over my hardware. Over my mohair, under my hardware, under my mohair. And if at any given time you feel like a strand is a little loose, you can just undo that lark's head knot, snug up that strand, and then snug that lark's head knot back down. Okay?